Hi, welcome back. In today's drop from food futurologist Dr. Morgaine Gaye, she discusses the question of why cookery books sell more than just recipes. Now, over to Morgan. Cookery books, apparently, they sell more than just recipes.
You'd be forgiven for thinking that cookery books were all about the recipes, but that's only the partial truth. If you think back, recipe cards were the precursor to the books, and these were just the how-to step-by-step guide to making something. It's only really in the last 50 years that cookery books even had photos in them, initially black and white, and then colour. But they functioned as a home helper, a how-to guide for the housewife, when it was their job to just provide food and a perfect home for their husband and their family, and a way to socially indicate that you knew what was what. And that was a really big thing because the photos in the books were social aspiration indicators. So we can go through the years a little bit to be able to show that. So 1970s, colors were red, brown, orange, yellow. The whole menu was crammed into one color image so that everything filled the space, something edible or a matching serving dish. It was all about abundance. That was the social indication because we didn't have a lot back then. So it was all about having more and having it all at one time. So the coffee pot, the dessert, the main dish. Think about things like fondue was very shishi back in the 70s. That was a very cool thing to have because it was super aspirational. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to show that we could aspire to something better than what we really had. And then the 80s was all about color on color. Artificial dyes and packet foods came to the fore, and puffed up foods like souffles. It was the advent of souffles. And if you think about shoulder pads on 80s pink satin blouses, that's the kind of food that was being shown in these cookery books. It was about showing that everything was inflated. It was all about lots more. You can have more. You can have everything you want. So that was the kind of feeling in those cookery books. And the 90s were really the beginning of the advent of Asian and Japanese cuisine, the beginning of the little black dress, but the rise of that pared down fashion. But the same with cookery books, so that the indicators that we're seeing then were much more beautifully aligned portions, things in compartments. We've gone away from that sort of 70s idea of piling things round in a spiral or in a circle, piling things up, making it look very symmetrical. And now it's much more about this alignment, not sauces, not gravies, but defined shapes. Fast forward to 2020, the smoothie bowl. A smoothie bowl is a perfect example of the 2020 kind of phenomena because it was made, decorated with healthy berries and superfoods, but more importantly, photographed from the top down. The photography changed from this way on, showing everything, to this way, looking down. It was very constructed. It was a bit like a selfie. It was all about the show, and it had to be just right so that you'd take many and then the one blueberry that popped off to try and pretend, oh, it's just something I've thrown together. But actually, it was all very, very thought through. But it's a real nod to that kind of clean Nordic wellness vibe to match the yoga and Pilates, which is as common as the acai bowls. So the photography in those cookery books is really something that becomes a social aspirational indicator. And we've now seen cookery books, of course, they're still there, but we see things like Instagram being the modern day version of that. And the way that we see food photography on Instagram has changed even in the time that Instagram's been around. And it will continue to do so. And it shows us who we are, or who we'd like people to think we are.
Okay, folks, that's all for now. Come back tomorrow for some more of Dr. Morgaine Gaye's Food Futurology, Insights and Trends.